Flames continue to ravage parts of this province. 27,000 people remain on evacuation order, with many, many more ready to go at a moment's notice. Tonight, we're getting a clearer picture in some parts as to how bad the damage is, but several things remain uncertain. Firefighters are stretched thin, communities are drained, and an order to cancel all travel plans to wildfire-affected areas is still in place. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. Let's start tonight in the Shuswap, where it's still not clear at this point how many structures have burned in the Scotch Creek area. The CBC's Anita Bathe is looking at the uncertainty so many are facing as they wait to find out whether their homes are standing.
Photos like these are some of the only pieces of information people in areas like Scotch Creek and Celista are getting. The Bush Creek East wildfire has left parts of these communities reduced to ashes. Jim Cooperman was lucky enough to be able to survey the damage.
It was absolutely dreadful. We did a tour through Scotch Creek and saw the burned out buildings, the fire hall, the library, homes, and businesses.
His home in Lee Creek survived, but he wishes the warnings came sooner.
And as a result, people became trapped in Scotch Creek. To evacuate, they had to take boats.
There have been some questions about whether a planned ignition contributed to the merging of two fires. But today, BC Wildfire is reiterating that is not what happened, and that the flames spread when one fire jumped the river.
I want to be perfectly clear. That planned ignition saved hundreds of homes and properties along the North Shuswap. Unfortunately, with the wind that we knew was forecast and that was coming, that fire went above the control line that we burned off from and then swept back into the communities in the North Shuswap.
Several communities continue to be impacted by the blaze, including Sorrento, Scotch Creek, Lee Creek, Chase, the Adams Lake area, and as far east as Magna Bay. Evacuees are still waiting to return home. Kendall Martin left her home in Scotch Creek, but says some stayed behind to protect their properties.
But, a lot of these structures that we thought we had lost weren't lost. And so there's hope there. There was a really big coming together. We were leaning on each other for comfort.
While there are many who do stay back in the wildfire situations, the province is once again reminding people not to do that.
If you are under an evacuation order, you must leave immediately. This isn't a suggestion, it is the law.
For now, it's a waiting game for so many who have no clarity about whether or not their home is still standing. Anita Bathe, CBC News, Kamloops.
Let's take you live now to Chase near Shuswap, where our John Hernandez is standing by. John, we've heard a bit about the tensions between community members and wildfire crews. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, today the BC Wildfire Service confirmed that some of its equipment has actually gone missing. This being a particular issue in the Shuswap region, where about 4,000 homes are under evacuation order. Now, fire crews have been staging equipment in strategic locations, including at a bridge in Scotch Creek. However, over the past few days, some of that equipment has gone missing. Items like hoses, sprinklers, even an ATV. The Wildfire Service suspects people are using this gear to fight the fire themselves. BC's Premier touched on this problem today and told those people to stop.
Unfortunately, we are getting reports that some people are tampering with firefighter equipment, moving it to different locations where they think it might be more needed. We'll put the best possible understanding on this, that people think they're helping. They are not. You're not helping if you're moving firefighter equipment. Firefighters are experts. The equipment is put there for a reason, and when it's not there when the firefighters go to get it, that is a big problem. So please do not tamper with firefighter equipment.
This missing equipment is just another problem these crews have to deal with under what are already exhausting conditions.
Yeah, John, let's talk a little bit more about that. We're also hearing about the emotional exhaustion that crews are facing from this and other disruptions. What else has happened?
Yeah, first I should note the Wildfire Service says the vast majority of residents in this area have been supportive and compliant, but there have been some issues, particularly people driving past barricades into active fire zones. In some cases, RCMP have actually had to chase them down, so obviously very disruptive. We also heard an anecdote from Fire Information Officer Forrest Tower today, who said that some people had actually thrown garbage at fire trucks.
A lot of our crews, initial attack crews, unit crews, they are, in it for, a lot of people stay around, but a lot of people do just, pay for university, and it's a career. Just like tree planting in BC, we have a very robust history of wildland firefighting in BC. And when they go back to their tent that they've been sleeping in since May, away from family, away from friends, I think it's really disheartening when all they hear is that the messaging is that they've abandoned people.
Now, the Wildfire Service wants to reiterate its message that it's not abandoning people. And while it's not encouraging people to defy evacuation orders, it is asking those who do decide to stay behind to work with firefighters and not against them. There have been cases where locals have actually been brought into the Wildfire Service on an emergency basis. To do that only requires taking a couple of courses. So there are ways to contribute without defying any orders. Anita.
John Hernandez reporting live in Chase tonight. Thank you, John. Let's go now to the other major wildfire situation in this province in Kelowna, where we are getting a clearer picture of the damage there. Our Mira Baines joins us now, and we'll be touching on that shortly. I know, Mira, but first, it is very smoky behind you. What are conditions like today?
That's right, it's very smoky skies here in Kelowna. Behind me, you would normally be able to see Lake Okanagan and West Kelowna, but right now you can just see a bit of beach. And now these conditions are quite concerning for air crews who are trying to provide support to fight wildfires from the air using helicopters, and that's hindering a lot of their efforts. Now, we have learned that firefighting crews are making progress. They said they had a good day yesterday and last night. And otherwise, weather conditions are improving. Cooler temperatures have helped efforts. No homes were lost in the last 24 hours and no loss of life. Firefighters have been able to use some of their firefighting techniques that they haven't been able to use before because of strong winds. West Kelowna Fire Chief Jason Broland did give us an estimate on the number of homes lost so far, with more estimates to come.
I can report today that I have a loss estimate for the neighborhoods that we have visited. This number is an estimate, and it represents full and partial losses within the neighborhoods. We estimate that there's approximately 50 structures. Now, I want to temper that by saying we're not done yet, and the most damaged neighborhoods are still to come. However, I think it's important that people begin to understand the scope and scale of what our community is facing.
And Mira, I know you've spoken with some of those people who have lost their homes today. What are they saying?
Well, some evacuees are saying that they haven't received official word about their homes being lost, but they are learning about damages from social media video as well as security camera video from other homes. I want you to take a listen to some evacuees and how they learned the devastating news.
Pictures. I had an old picture. It was like as old as I am, 50 years old. I wanted to take that with me, but I just was no time. It takes a long time to get over that day.
Yeah, trying to navigate the emotions that come along with it, and also kind of staying strong, moving forward.
Evacuees are told not to return to their neighborhoods if they were ordered to evacuate. Now, fire officials say that some of those neighborhoods are very damaged, especially the infrastructure. They describe downed power lines and downed trees and even melted street signs. And we also learned from the mayor of Kelowna that there are about 700 to 1,000 people that are still waiting to register with emergency support services. So that's very concerning news, and officials have said that they are trying to ramp up the number of people that are trying to help them.
Mira Baines in Kelowna tonight. Thank you. Now, we're also getting another reminder tonight about the importance of following BC's current travel restrictions. The province's emergency management minister says there's still an urgent need for hotel and motel rooms for people forced to leave their homes. Zara Premji is live with us on this angle. Zara, take us through the message we're getting.
Right, Anita, it's not just evacuees who need accommodation, it's also frontline workers, some of whom are also out of their own homes. The state of emergency put in place Friday includes not traveling to certain parts of the region unless it's for essential services. Now that includes Kelowna, Kamloops, Oliver, Osoyoos, Vernon, Penticton, just to name some of the areas. The province is desperately pleading travelers to cancel reservations.
Thank you again to people for heeding our calls to stay away from fire-impacted communities entirely. Your compassion and your quick action has made a huge difference. We continue to ask everyone not to travel to the Okanagan or the Shuswap for tourism or other non-essential purposes. Parts of the Fraser Canyon are also struggling.
Now, the order is in effect until September 4th, but Ma adds there is some positive news. She says conditions have improved in southeastern portions of BC, using Revelstoke as the boundary and pushing that towards Alberta as the border. Communities there are looking forward to welcoming tourists once again. Now, Anita, there is some hope in the midst of all of this. More help is on the way. Right now, firefighters are working back-to-back shifts to save homes and lives. But starting Wednesday, 100 firefighters will be arriving from Mexico, 200 from South Africa, and 18 specialized resources like coordinators and staff from Australia. Anita.
Zara Premji live tonight. Thank you. Now, with all of these fires raging, there are dozens of air quality alerts in the province. And as Paige Parsons reports, that's bringing on new warnings from health experts.
In just a few days, Chris Seeger's view in Kelowna went from this to this.
You should be able to see Lake Okanagan, but you can't.
And it's not just the view that's smoky.
It's just like you're sitting around a campfire, but it's 24 hours a day. You know, you can't escape it.
Opening the balcony door for just a few moments sends the amount of particulate detected in the air spiraling upwards.
We can't get it down below 150 today inside with everything closed, and it's crazy.
In an unprecedented year for wildfires, the health effects are clear.
What we tend to see are presentations for asthma exacerbations, increased chronic obstructive pulmonary disease exacerbations, lots of diagnoses of pneumonia. We're seeing studies that show actually increased numbers of heart attacks.
Despite the warnings, some people are still carrying on normally outside.
Just because we're healthy doesn't mean we're going to stay healthy. We have to treat our lungs with respect.
That means preparing for smoky days, moving workouts indoors, having backup activities during vacations, and wearing masks as needed. And not just this summer.
People are starting to think more and more about, hey, this is happening more than 1 or 2 days in a year. And so what's going to happen to me in long term? And for me as a children's doctor, what happens to kids when they're growing and developing during these long-term exposures to wildfire smoke?
Experts are calling for a big picture plan for a problem that seems to be here to stay. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Edmonton.
Yeah, that opening shot there of Kelowna before and after is hard to believe. Darius Madavi is here now to talk a little bit more about that smoke. Darius, is it looking like we're going to have any relief in the coming days?
Really depends where you are in the province. Here in Vancouver, we are going to have a bit of relief. You can see here, we've already cleared up a little bit compared to where we were at yesterday. This is, we were a bit darker orange yesterday here in Vancouver, but you'll notice parts of these places where we have a lot of the fires, they are going to stay smoky for a while yet. That smoke will stay relatively locked in place because just of how large these fires are. But over the next couple days, it will clear out a little bit in some of these places. So we're going to have a low pressure system move in, and that's going to draw a lot of the smoke away from the south coast, meaning we'll be even less smoky here in Vancouver. It's going to push some of that smoke up into the central interior, so getting a bit smokier there. Places like Kamloops and Kelowna in the southern interior going to stay pretty similar to where we're at right now because of just the sheer amount of smoke in those fires. Some of it will get pushed away because of that low pressure system, but we'll still be seeing lots of smoke in the forecast ahead. So winds are going to pick up just a little bit over the next couple days because of that low pressure system. Tomorrow we're going to have slightly higher winds, but nothing like what we saw last week. We're talking winds at most 15, 20 kilometers per hour sustained, with gusts no higher than 30 kilometers per hour. So good news there. And here in Vancouver, similar story. Still some slightly cloudy skies tomorrow, and that smoke clears up quite a bit.
All right, thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
Now, that smoke, all the evacuations, loss, worry, BC's wildfires, of course, can have a profound effect. Now, as the threat from the fires goes up, so too can anxiety and fear. Janella Hamilton has that angle for us tonight.
A heavy blanket of smoke from hundreds of wildfires burning across BC is prompting air quality advisories for much of the province.
There is the air quality advisory for high particulate concentration due to the wildfire smoke that is widespread.
This councillor says the smoky skies can have both physical and psychological impacts, sometimes causing visceral anxiety for people as they fear for the health and safety of their loved ones.
So the smoke ends up reminding us about what might be going on outside of our local area. And then we start to have these fears and worries. Is this coming here? What is summer going to be like for me? Is my home safe? Am I going to be okay?
She says more people are increasingly feeling the threat of climate change, especially as the province deals with fallout of catastrophic wildfires and flooding.
And when we have these thoughts, they're generally matched with some physical symptoms. So that might be kind of the racing heart, sweaty palms, feeling hot all over. Some people describe it as being really jittery or really tight.
Valaka Luna says for her, the smoke triggers thoughts of uncertainty about the future.
For me, it's because I've seen what Kamloops was a few years ago when I was in the midst of the smoky sky, and I know it got so much worse. So for me, I know this is the beginning.
Experts say the reality is climate disasters will most likely continue to worsen, but there are ways to alleviate stress.
Having a support system can be so helpful during this time, even if the support system might be feeling the same way that you are. Not feeling alone in an experience can be really beneficial to make plans for your different what-if thoughts. So what if I do get evacuated? Rather than just hoping it doesn't happen, actually take time to figure out what you would do.
Environment Canada says most of the smoke in the Lower Mainland is expected to dissipate by Tuesday, with some rain relief in sight later this week. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Reliable information about wildfires is essential to people's safety, and that has Justin Trudeau denouncing Meta's ban against Canadian news outlets on Facebook and Instagram.
Right now, in an emergency situation, where up-to-date local information is more important than ever, Facebook's putting corporate profits ahead of people's safety, ahead of supporting quality local journalism. This is not the time for that.
Meta began blocking posts by news organizations, including the CBC, in June. It came in response to Ottawa requiring social media platforms to pay Canadian publishers for the content they create. The Prime Minister made the remarks on Prince Edward Island, where he is meeting with his cabinet. Some businesses in Salmon Arm have stepped up to help wildfire evacuees from the Shuswap area over the weekend. Barbecue pork sandwiches, pies, pastries, and drinks were served to community members in need. It was all in an effort to provide a space for evacuees to connect with others before figuring out what to do next.
We're doing a free lunch for the evacuees. We're doing barbecue pork sandwiches, and we also have pies, fruit pies from the pie company, and we have some pastries from Flake Pastry as well. And we have like water and all that is donated by community members as well. I think it's important because right now everybody's in distress, and the community needs to show their support for the surrounding communities, right? People are losing their homes, and an enormous amount of stress. And if we can just give them a nice warm meal and a place to sit and relax and talk to each other, and maybe it'll alleviate some of the stress, or at least it gives them a stopping point until they figure out what they're going to do next. We're just happy doing this, having our families, friends, and also we have other businesses that contributed greatly. Seminum is a great community, and that we respond every time that there's a crisis. Seminum has always been the central hub in the Shuswap area, and we got really good people here that just help out.
And to Kelowna, where Kangaroo Creek Farm is a popular stop for families. Now, like so many tourist spots, it has closed its doors as it faces the threat of fire. Staff are now walking the perimeter, watching for flames, all while trying to keep the many animals calm.
We wanted to be responsible, not attract people to our business. We're taking a huge hit. We basically have 70 days out of the year where we make most of the income that sustains us through the rest of the year. So to lose what will probably account for, in the end, several weeks of being down in high season is pretty devastating. We have over 50 kangaroos, but if you were to count absolutely everything else as well, we have well over 100 animals here. We have all their crates on standby. We have a trailer hooked up to a vehicle in our parking lot. Our staff has been incredible. They were up all night last night working in shifts, just walking the perimeter, making sure that no burning debris came down. They actually had to put out, I think, one flaming plastic bag and some smoldering bark that must have come from a very long ways away. We're pretty calm. We think we're as prepared as we could possibly be. The animals are all comfortable. The ones that are very sensitive to smoke, like the parrots, they've been removed already from that situation. And we have enough staff who are familiar with our evacuation plan that I think we could execute it very quickly. We know we're not going to open tomorrow, and we know that we probably won't be opening for several more days at least after that. What we're hoping for is that things cool off and it rains significantly. But what the chances are of that, who knows?
After the break, we speak live to someone in the Shuswap region spending his days driving for hours just to keep people fed. He describes what it was like when the fire came in next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream tonight. Amid the wildfire crisis, people in BC's southern interior communities have stepped up to lend a helping hand to first responders and those affected by wildfires. CBC photojournalists Ben Nelms and Justine Boulin have been capturing life in and around the Okanagan as communities rally together to help one another. Back to our top story now on BC's wildfires. As the firefight continues, some of the efforts are turning to assessing the damage. Yvette Bren now on the devastation and the hope to rebuild.
Kelowna saw trees bursting into flame. Fires seemed to encircle Okanagan Lake. In Shuswap, where two other fires merged over the weekend, a woman says she knew she'd lost her home to the inferno when she saw an explosion.
We saw this 50-foot high flame go up, and it just right from where we know our house was, right? That we could see that there was forest that was still green at that point, and then this flame, and it was okay, we can't even hope at this point. It was there's not even room for a hope.
Heartbreak. And after surveying the damage from the West Kelowna fire, the Premier warns more to come.
It's reasonable to assume that most, if not all, of these structures are homes, which means that these homes are gone. These are families who have lost everything.
Most are thankful, but some are frustrated, fearful. Kendall Markin says neighbors who stayed behind to fight the fire saved her Shuswap home.
They want to do it. They want to fight. They are capable. They're using their own equipment. They're doing a great job. They're winning.
Officials urge people to leave when asked and say fires are too extreme to fight with water alone. They had to fight fire with fire.
Had we not done any planned ignition, the fire would have come south anyway. There was no stopping it. Nothing a single human or a million humans could do to stop that fire from coming south.
He says people have been stealing firefighting gear to protect their own properties.
It's to the point now where it's limiting what we can even do in that area. And it's really making it difficult for structure protection staff to be successful there.
Officials ask for calm and cooperation.
The devastation is going to be really more real when we go home and see it.
In the face of such losses.
That's the CBC's Yvette Bren reporting tonight from Kelowna. Now, I've covered many disasters in this province, and the one thing that is always clear is that people step up to help one another, and these fires are no exception. Thanveer Tour is the owner of Fetch Panda convenience store in Celista, which is in the Shuswap region next to Scotch Creek. Every day, he's been traveling from Kelowna to Celista to open the store and to provide free goods to locals who have stayed behind to help. Thanveer joins us live now from the area. Thanveer, we can see sort of behind you in that window there the damage on the trees that are burned. So I want to start with that. Take us through what happened when the fire broke out and how the community reacted.
So the fire started on Saturday, and suddenly it became an inferno, and everyone has to leave as it is. It came down the hill and burned every house. I'll show you right here.
Wow. Wow, that is just incredible. What is it like for you to drive through this and to see it? I know you've been driving every day through it, but does it get any easier seeing it?
No, it's so heartbreaking to see people losing their houses, and they are struggling. The whole community came together, and they're doing the best they can to help each other. It's just community helping community right now. They are just incredible people.
Yeah, and owning a store there, you must know a lot of the people who live in the area and some of the people who lost their homes. Can you talk to me about why it's so important for you to help them?
So the community here is a family. They help each other out all the time, and there are so many different fires going on in whole BC. So the resources have moved to other places, and people here protected their own houses. I can guarantee you that if the guys didn't stay back, this thing would have looked completely different. These guys saved their houses. Each and everyone put sprinklers on, so they saved everything. The fire came down to the school, but they saved the school. They saved my store. So the community, they were all prepared. Like, they have everything going on right here. You can see sprinklers are on. They have their trucks on, and they're doing the best they can to protect each other's houses. Some people are calling them from the phone to look at their houses. They're burning. There's spot fires everywhere, and there are guys with the trucks with 100-gallon tanks on the back with the motors, and they're fixing it.
So you think all those houses that you just showed us that are still standing, you think that really was the efforts of the people who stayed and put those sprinklers up to protect them?
It is like firefighters are doing an amazing job. RCMP is doing an amazing job. It's both things, like the air when like the wind stopped, but people had water. They were removing, like, it was more about the ashes falling from the sky, and that's what igniting the spot fires everywhere. So people were keeping an eye on that, and they did a really nice job doing that, and they're still doing it. I went to the fire hall right now to leave some supplies. We're gonna take more supplies right now and drop it to the fire hall. And before, when the real thing started, everyone was so scared, and then you can see the flames burning. Like, when we left, the flames were burning everywhere, and it was just scary. People didn't know what to do, and they didn't have food, so they were texting me on the phone, like, if we can get some food. And it was hard because it's a zone where you're not allowed in. So I contacted the RCMP. Kudos to Michael Gillis, the constable, who got us through. He escorted us. We got the first supplies here. We gave away everything in the store we had, the pizzas, everything we had in our freezers, anything people can use, we gave it all away. And today we got more supplies, which are natural, like water and everything, so that people can keep doing what they're doing. If they don't want to leave, they should not go hungry.
Tanvir, thank you so much for showing us the damage and the homes that have been protected, and for all that you're doing to help the people there. I think everyone really appreciates that, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, with 27,000 people in BC on evacuation order and so many more on alert, our Maurice Katz is looking at the difference between an alert and an order and what you should do in each situation.
An evacuation alert is when folks need to be ready to leave on short notice. If you don't have one already, it's great to have a to-go bag ready to go that can contain medications, identification, if you have pets, food for them, food for yourself, and for an entire list as to what is best to be in those bags, I recommend visiting Preparedness BC, and they have a lot of great resources. An evacuation order is when you are at immediate risk, and we are asking folks to leave the area immediately.
But if you're in that situation, what should you do? According to the province, if it's an evacuation alert, they say to move patio furniture, cushions, and doormats indoors, and to take down flammable curtains. They also say to fill large containers like pools, hot tubs, and garbage cans with water to help slow down the fire, and to disconnect automatic garage door openers in case you lose power. But if it's an evacuation order, close your doors and windows and turn on your lights so your home is visible to firefighters in heavy smoke. Then follow all official directions and evacuate using the route they've identified.
Coming up, the other critical wildfire situation in this country. We head north to Yellowknife, where officials say current conditions could fuel the fires.
Firefighters describe it as fingers of flames that reach into a community, destroying one house, leaving another untouched. But what causes the random force of a wildfire to scorch a house, yet leave a tomato plant standing? People who study fire behavior say some neighborhoods were hit with a wall of flames, while others were showered with sparks.
Debris, burning branches and bark that gets lifted up in the convection column, and it gets cast ahead of the fire. And so there's sort of this shower of embers that fall onto the houses. And so where these embers landed on the house was obviously flammable material, but anything else around it that wasn't flammable didn't burn.
But some houses didn't just burn, they exploded. A fire this hot heats up everything in its path. Gases are emitted from trees, vinyl siding, even cedar roof shakes. By the time the flames arrive, the vapors ignite and the house is gone in a matter of seconds.
Then we flew the fire to the east of there. You could see the thermal column sitting in the upper atmosphere.
The thermal column is a wind force created by swirling flames and hot air.
And it's just terrifying to be close to.
BC's chief forester says the thermal column is what causes flames to leap ahead, leaving patches of land untouched. He says it's so powerful it can send burning trees flying a couple of kilometers ahead and over any fire breaks dug by firefighters.
It's not uncommon for a very intense wildfire to lift large chunks of debris off the forest floor, including dead or downed trees, and throw them high into the atmosphere. Sometimes pilots have reported seeing very large amounts of wood suspended in the thermal column.
It doesn't help that it's been the driest summer in Kelowna since records were kept. Peterson says interface fires like this that jump from forests to towns are hard to control, hard to predict, and this one is far from over. Natalie Clancy, CBC News, Vancouver.
To other local news now, a ruling by the provincial regulator has found that a private Vancouver college has misled an international student. The private training institutions branch has ordered Granville College to pay back thousands of dollars to the student. And as Kiran Singh reports, it is also launching an investigation into another complaint.
Like thousands of international students, Shivani Sharma hoped that education would be her ticket to a brighter future.
When I go to Canada, I will be a successful person. I will earn more, study more.
But what she faced instead, she says, was a different reality.
When I came here, everything like broken, nothing, because my first step was wrong. I was in Granville.
Sharma enrolled in Granville College. She says when her program started in September 2022, her program was changed from business administration to hospitality management without her knowledge. Her letter of acceptance also says that her program would be hybrid, meaning some in person, some online. However, she says everything was virtual.
Instructor came and he just put attendance, and after that he just giving us assignments. He just say, do you have any questions? Everybody says no, we don't have any questions. Say, okay, bye, see you tomorrow.
Granville College told the regulator it held virtual classes because of the pandemic. But Sharma had additional concerns, saying she also witnessed frequent plagiarism. Granville College told CBC News in a statement that plagiarism is not tolerated.
When one student is pasting his answer, the another one is also copy-paste again. and instructor giving us just 96%, 86%. I was thinking, yeah, it's very easy to like study in Canada.
Sharma decided to withdraw and requested a refund for at least some of her tuition. She had paid $13,500 to study. Granville College denied her any refund. Balraj Kalu is the co-founder of One Voice Canada, a nonprofit that helps vulnerable international students. He doesn't believe that the college ever intended to hold classes in person.
By the time that the semester started in September, all the restrictions had been lifted.
He took the case to the regulator, the private training institution branch, and it agreed.
They tried to make the same argument to PTIB, but they wouldn't accept it either.
After 6 months of back and forth, the provincial regulator ruled in favor of Sharma, finding the college misled Sharma about the delivery of the program and that the college's claim that the course was delivered online due to COVID-19 is not credible. The college has been ordered to pay $10,360 back to Sharma. Based on CBC's previous reporting about another student, the private training institution branch has started investigating Granville College. The college has not yet responded to CBC about that investigation. Kiran Singh, CBC News, Vancouver.
We're getting a clearer picture of the damage in West Kelowna, and we're hearing the stories of those who say they've lost everything. Chris Erickson is one of those people. He shared the moment he saw his own home go up in flames.
All things considered, I think we're holding up pretty good. But this is it's not something that happens every day. When we left our house, and we are, taking all the steps, we'd shut off the gas and the water and the electricity, done all that. And it was not thinking that I will not see this place again. The biggest piece of evidence that we got was from a neighbor's doorbell camera. And it's quite the experience witnessing your house engulfed in flames before it collapses in on itself. And watching that is hard. What I've really been aware of this whole time is a level of kindness. It's a level of humanity that I think in the last few years has been kind of eroded, and it showed up in a very big way in the last couple of days. And my apologies, but if nothing else, that gives me a lot of hope. So the support of the community has been really unexpected and very welcome. So yeah, from here it's like, okay, we've got tools to move forward. We're not out of it yet. So that's what we'll do.
A lot of stories like that starting to emerge. I want to take you now to the Northwest Territories, where tens of thousands of evacuees are also far away from home because of wildfires there. After long and hard journeys, many have managed to escape to Alberta. Aaron Collins is showing us the new challenges they're faced with.
When wildfires closed in on Yellowknife last week, getting out alive was the priority. 20,000 residents urged to evacuate their city. Holy But the worries don't end once the flames are in the rear-view mirror. Signs of evacuees from the fires burning across the Northwest Territories easy to spot at this Calgary hotel.
I didn't get a chance to pack all my personal things, all my documents and everything it's back home.
A temporary home for those on the run from wildfires. That immediate threat replaced by more practical problems.
I'm worried, with money, because it's really scarce right now. I think I got $500 in my checking account. That's all I have right now.
Hotel rooms and meals are being provided, and the territorial government has offered a one-time payment of $750 to evacuees. Of course, the biggest question on their minds, when will they go home?
To date, the fire is still a threat, and we don't have a date for when folks can come back.
For its part, the federal government has pledged to help evacuees while they wait.
Having to flee with your most precious personal possessions, but uncertain as to whether your community would be there when you return, that's a very, very difficult thing for people to experience, and we want to make sure that we're there for those people.
For now, there are few details of what that help will actually look like. More uncertainty and stress for evacuees navigating life at Edmonton's reception center.
I did not know any of the protocols or anything. I was just like caught off guard. I was just going into a standard rush.
Still, amidst all the unknowns, a sense of gratitude for what has been provided.
It's a lot of people to take care of, and they're doing the best they can with the resources that they have. But it is a little bit slow, but I'm not complaining. I'm pretty grateful for all the help that the people here at Edmonton has shown us.
So as this unprecedented wildfire season continues, the costs for those scattered far from home continues to mount.
A rare storm warning for parts of California as the remnants of Hurricane Hillary bring floods to the Golden State. The aftermath is next.
We've heard it before, and it needs to be emphasized again. I think we obviously know the devastating impact of these fires that are on people, but it certainly has been reminded to us in the past number of days, if not years, about the devastating impact these wildfires have on livestock, animals, wild animals, the ecology of it. You're seeing it firsthand, aren't you?
Yes, we are. There's a lot of people couldn't get in when they were evacuated to get their animals out, and so we're going in and getting them out for them or leaving them where they are and feeding them. A lot of people, were able to contact us, so we're able to evacuate their animals. But yeah, the devastation is pretty big, and people, animals are family. We have to realize that people's pets are their family, and we have to treat them like they are their family members. So we have to be cognizant that if people can't evacuate their animals, it's really hard to get people to evacuate.
Yeah, many of them stay. They'll refuse to leave. Do you have enough space to move them around?
We are all volunteers. Our organization is 100% volunteer, and we just have our volunteers that are going back and forth into all of the areas and moving them and transporting them and doing what we need to do, putting them at some of our facilities, putting cats and dogs in foster care, and then, like I said, going into people's homes. I'm on my way now to go feed some fish and a chameleon.
It really is everything from the indoor to the outdoor animals. Daryl, for somebody who may want to either make a donation, volunteer, get involved, help you out, how can they do that?
They can go onto our website at alertcanada.org. or we have a Facebook page, Animal Lifeline Emergency Response Team, and they can go on there and make a donation. We take volunteers because of the training that they need, but if they want to think about volunteering in the future, we'd be happy to train them up and use them next go round.
Daryl, just to clarify, and we really appreciate your call, what is your most urgent need right now?
Our most urgent need is actually money, because we are purchasing a ton of food. It costs a lot of money to feed animals, especially 200-300 animals with hay and all the food that they need. We also need gas for our volunteers to go out and be able to feed the animals. So cash donations are best, but we could also use crates. We could use animal crates. We have given out over 200 crates to people who needed them during their evacuation, and so any kind of animal carriers, dogs and cat carriers, would be greatly appreciated.
Daryl, we really appreciate your time, and obviously there are many pet parents and livestock owners who are counting on you in a very big way. Well done. Thank you for stepping up.
The remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary are expected to blow into British Columbia in the coming days. The storm has been battering northern Mexico and southwestern U.S. As Katie Nicholson tells us, the BC Wildfire Service expects the winds to cause more problems for crews.
Firefighters near a roadblock watch in horror as a mudslide thunders down a hill.
Trees are going,
forcing them to turn and run.
wow!
A small snapshot of the impact of Hilary's dangerous downpours.
Come here, come here, come here!
In Palm Springs, half a year's worth of rain fell in 6 hours and then just kept falling, knocking out 911 service during the height of the storm. Floodwaters choked out major roads.
Right now, we have flooding on all of our roads. There's no way in or out of Palm Springs.
As if it wasn't bad enough, in the middle of it all Sunday, an unrelated 5.1 magnitude earthquake rippled through the region. As night fell, there were dramatic rescues like this one, where 2 people were pulled from dark waters. By morning light, a changed world for many across Southern California and Nevada. Streets flooded, or utterly washed or ripped away. Other roads littered with boulders loosened from their perches in the mountains by Hilary's heavy rains. Las Vegas's storm system roaring like white water rapids. Despite all of the damage, it could have been worse.
As of right now, there have not been any deaths or significant risk of injury.
A different story south of the border. In Mexico, a man was killed when his car was swept away in a violent rush of water. Others were forced into shelters. My house collapsed, she says. I don't have anywhere else to live. Hilary is headed north now, much weaker, having left behind a dangerous, sloppy mess as the focus shifts from hunkering down to cleaning up. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Darius Madavi has been tracking Storm Hilary for us. Darius, what's the latest?
Well, as we heard, the storm did move up. It started as just a tropical depression and gained strength until it was a Category 4 hurricane. Fortunately, it lost a lot of that strength before it made landfall. But as it moved up, we saw a lot of the devastation that it caused. A storm like that hasn't hit California in a very long time. And so as it moved up, it still carries a lot of that tropical moisture that it dumped quite a bit of on California. And as it came up, it still carried it. And if we look here, you can see just how much of it hit California, but also how much is being carried up through and into Canada. And so this is what we heard from the fire service, is that this could actually be good news, at least somewhat. So we heard that those winds are expected to be potentially a problem, but fortunately, the winds aren't going to be anything like what we had last Friday. We're talking winds at most 20 kilometers per hour, sustained 30 kilometers per hour gusts, which is really way, way lower than what we had at the end of last week, where the gusts were reaching 70 kilometers per hour and we had sustained winds of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. But it is bringing lots of moisture. We can see that this rain is going to track up through. Right now, it's just mostly heading into Alberta, but this should track westward over the next couple days. It's also bringing a lot of humidity. So this is our humidity today, much higher than it was at the end of last week, where we were sitting at around 15% in places like Kelowna, which is extremely dry. Tomorrow, as that band of moisture moves through, we see it come up even more to 50, 66% relative humidity. That is very, very much better than what we've been seeing lately. And for the area, it's not bad. This is quite a dry area usually, as we know, so not bad in terms of the humidity there. That should help at least somewhat in getting some of, at least preventing new fire starts when we see some of these thunderstorms potentially move through the area. But for the most part, it should be just showers. Plenty tonight for the Cranbrook, the southeast area. And then some of this, as we said, tracking westward as this low pressure system pulls a lot of that moisture towards itself. And as this system tracks further and further east, we start to lose some of that moisture from the southern interior. But hopefully we'll see at least a good amount in the time that it's there. So tomorrow, expect some rain, possibility, risk of some thunderstorms through the southern interior. Here in Vancouver, we don't see that rain until Wednesday at the earliest, just a little spot before the sun returns once again.
Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
He's just 21 years old, but an athlete from Nanaimo took center stage at the World Championships in Budapest. His winning hammer throw and reaction is next.
Hi, I'm Anita, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Support sustainable agriculture and celebrate local food with Margaret Gallagher at Feast of Fields. Enjoy the Gourmet Harvest Festival at the Stable Harvest Farms on September 10th. Tickets at farmfolkcityfolk.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox and keep connected with us.
A big win for a Nanaimo athlete this past weekend at the World Athletics Championships in Budapest, Hungary. 21-year-old Ethan Katzberg won big in the hammer competition. Here's his big throw and his reaction.
Wow. Right then, let's bring you up to speed with this hammer before we turn our attention to the men's 100-meter final. Katzberg was an absolute revelation in qualification for this. He threw an 81.18 to go second on the world leaderboard for this year. silver medalist in the Cotton Games last year, and that required a 2-meter PB. Remember, we were looking at Halsash leading. He had that foul, that 81 meters that was then taken away. So 80-82, another national record for Katzberg. 81-25, he's gone into the lead.
I mean, become world champion and with a national record on top of that, it's a very, very good feeling, and I'm thrilled.
You got another national record as well, 81-25. You obviously had guys that you were competing with. I mean, your competitor from Poland was trying to go for his 6th world championship title. How did you maintain composure, and what were you thinking before that big throw?
Well, my coach, Dylan Armstrong, told me to go for it. I had 80 meters, so he just like, you got to go for it, don't hold back, and I tried my best to do that, and I think it worked out okay.
Is it still feeling like a bit of a pinch me moment?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to hit me for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. We'll see.
It sure did work out okay. That is incredible stuff. Congratulations. And thank you for being with us on CBC Vancouver News tonight. We'll continue to bring you wildfire coverage throughout this week. No doubt we will get an even clearer picture of the damage and speak to more folks who are trying to help their communities. Good night.